Assalamu alaikum. So far we discussed an introduction of educational psychology, and in the last class we have just started to discuss what is psychology, what is its definition, origin of psychology, and root words from which the term psychology derived and such. And I have given you an assignment. So far some students have sent their responses by WhatsApp, and majority of you have not responded yet, and it is not fair. Please keep a track with me to complete this course, because when we hear the topic it is so easy. At the same time, when we refer all contents after or on the time of examination or others, it is so difficult because totally this is not already familiar topics. It is all of these topics are new, and content names we are referring, terms, terminologies and vocabulary we are using, everything is totally different. So keep a track with me to complete and to understand well the topic. Then already we discussed what is psychology. Last day we have discussed what this is, and I have said you to find out a definition of psychology by searching internet or others, and Salam, Tangal and others have sent me the response. Majority of you have not yet responded. Then introduction, once again we have to start. The word psychology is a new word, and psychology is a new science, and it is derived as a separate science only in 19th century. And formal psychology, or the psychology as we see today, it has its birth only after 1879 onwards. And father of psychology, who's a famous question, majority of you or we are all have a misnomer regarding who is the father of psychology. Really, psychologists Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, then Galton, Darwin, all others are psychologists. At the same time, there is no recognition for all of them as father of psychologists. It is a controversial subject. Majority of the people are arguing that this person is father and this person. They have their own arguments and they have their own merits and demerits for arguing such a comment. But commonly it is considered that William Wundt, the famous German psychologist William Wundt, is considered as the father of modern psychology. It is not Sigmund Freud, it is not any other psychologist considered as the father of modern psychology. It is William Wundt. Commonly it is considered as William Wundt. And moreover, we said psychology is a term derived from two Greek words, psych and logos. Psych means soul, logos means scientific studies, systematic studies, structural learning, and science. As like this we have discussed. Simply we defined psychology as science of soul and others. Then and also some terms is to be noted. Psychology, first it is defined as the science of soul, and this definition is given by Aristotle, Plato and others. That means philosophy was basically or philosophical concept of ancient world, or at the time of Aristotle, Plato and others. It is based on spirituals, and they defined psychology is a science of soul. for many years, psychology is considered as a science of soul, and all arguments, studies, discussions are based on the soul for many time. This was the matter of psychology. And after many years, some doubts were asked by many, and there emerged a common confusion. How we learn a thing? What is science? Science is a systematic study of some objects. We need an object. We need a cause and effect relation by materials. Then only we call a thing science. Science is a systematic study of an object. A systematic study means in a particular system, in a step-by-step process, or in a systematic arrangement we are studying. That means if there is a cause, there is an effect. If there is an effect, there is an answer. Like this, such a systematic study is known as science. Then psychology is a science of soul on past days. Then there was an argument. Is soul a material? How we learn soul? How we learn soul? Can we see it? Can we feel it? Can we touch it? Is it a material? How we learn? Such a discussion was there, and it was so complicated for psychologists to define what is soul. And then one more question was emerged. If it is a confusion, or if the soul is a confusing element, how we scientifically learn? As a result of this, later on, psychologists compelled to redefine psychology. And later on, philosopher Plato and others explained it is not only the science of soul, it is the science of mind. It is the science of mind. Then first one, Aristotle explained that, or Aristotle and his contemporary people explained psychology as a science of soul. First definition of psychology was like that. But as a result of some complication, they compelled to redefine psychology. Now, or after that, Plato and his followers or others explained that it is science of mind. Then second evolution. First one, it was science of soul. It is redefined. Then the redefined definition is psychology is the science of mind. Then for many years, psychologists, philosophers and others explained psychology as the science of mind, and out of science of mind a lot of discussions are there. But many years after, the same question regarding soul is emerged regarding mind too. What is that? Is mind as an element? Is it possible for any person, for a psychologist to learn mind? Where is it? It is also a concept. It is also a thing that we cannot see. It is not a material. It is a concept that we have created in human body. And after that, or after many discussions, psychologists compelled to redefine psychology once more, and it is redefined by Sigmund Freud. Who is Sigmund Freud? You know, father of dream analysis, father of modern psychology, not but 20th century psychologist, millennium psychologist and others. He is Sigmund Freud, and he said, or he explained, or he redefined psychology from psychology is the science of mind to psychology is not only the science of mind. Mind is further classified into three parts: conscious, subconscious, unconscious. Then Sigmund Freud argued that it is a science of consciousness. It is the science of consciousness. Psychology is a science of consciousness. Consciousness means the part of mind that every time we are referring, Every time, all time we are bothered about that part. All elements we are bothered about things is the in our conscious mind. This part of mind or this conscious mind is the subject of psychology. Furthermore, for many years the definition of psychology was like that. Psychology is the science of behavior. Later on in 18th century, experimental psychologist or science psychology can begin founder of William Wundt in 1832. First psychological laboratory in Leipzig of Germany is started. He is the founder of first psychology laboratory in Leipzig, a city in Germany. It is the first psychology lab and it is also an experimental lab. In this laboratory, many psychologists like Carl Jung and others have conducted their experiments. And he redefined once again the psychology to psychology is not a science of behavior, not a science of mind, not a science of soul. It is redefined by William Wundt and others as psychology is the science of behavior. Psychology is the science of behavior. Then so far, just not 4 elements. Psychology is derived from 2 Greek words. First one, psych. Second one, logos. Its meaning is scientific study or science of soul. First definition of psychology was like that, science of soul. Then it is redefined as science of mind. Then it was a unknown concept or not a material, then it is redefined as science of consciousness. It is also as mind. It is a concept not seen, not learned. Then it is further redefined as science of behavior. Science of behavior. Then now the general definition of psychology is it is a science of behavior. Psychology is the science of behavior. Behavioral science is the psychology is a science regarding behavioral formation, behavioral formulation and its application and others. Then now psychology is defined as science of behavior. Now it is like that. But in coming days, coming years, in next decades, it may be redefined. So now you just understand, if any person asks you what is the psychology, then just answer that it is the science of human behavior. It is the science of human behavior. Then behavior, now it is studied or psychologists study human behavior by using some measuring tools, techniques and others. By using these tools, techniques and some behavioral elements, we can study a person's behavior, a person's attitude and we can mold his personality and others. Like that this is said. Then psychology is a science and it is defined as the science of behavior. Then a common question or a famous psychologist Woodworth, a famous psychologist, he with jokes and others he said that psychology is defined or evolution of definition of the psychology was through stages. This evolution of definition was mocked by this Woodworth, a famous psychologist. He said, first psychology lost its soul. First psychology lost its soul, then it lost its mind, then it lost its consciousness. Now psychology lives in a sort of behavior. It is a joke, not only a joke. Through this definition he says, how he explains how the evolution of definition of psychology was. And just note it, psychology first lost its soul, then it lost its mind, then it lost its consciousness. Now psychology exists in a sort of behavior. Sort means a kind, S-O-R-T. Then by this definition or others we can understand what is psychology? Then the term psychology is a new subject term. It is used firstly, the term psychology is a new term. It is firstly used in 1590. It is by Rudolf Gockel. It is used firstly by Rudolf Gockel, Gockle. He is the person who firstly used the term psychology ever. And now psychology is a branch. It has many branches. It is an independent science and it has many branches. Then we have to go through all these branches as an introduction, then only we can come to our new topics. Then psychology has generally two branches. They are pure psychology and applied psychology. Psychology is a modern science. It has two branches generally. First one, pure psychology. Second one, applied psychology. What is pure? All teachers are applied psychologists. Parents are applied psychologists. Then salesmen, businessmen, all other practically working men, politicians, all are practically using psychology. That means they are applied psychologists. Then teacher is an applied psychologist, not a pure psychologist. Then first of all we have to understand what is pure psychology and what is applied psychology. Pure psychology means it is the theoretical part. Theoretical discussions, theoretical evolutions, then experiments and formation of a new theory or expansion of an existing theory or further experiment on an existing theory. All these are including theoretical aspects. This theoretical part of psychology is known as pure psychology. Pure psychology. Then pure psychologist is one who explains a theory, who forms a new theory, who expands a theory, or who do some experiments for forming a new theory. He is a pure psychologist. Sigmund Freud is a best example for a pure psychologist. William Wundt is a pure psychologist. Aristotle is a pure psychologist. Plato is a pure psychologist. Carl Jung is a pure psychologist. Then many others. Erik Erikson is a pure psychologist. Then Alfred Adler is a pure psychologist. Many psychologists are there. All of them have formed their theory on the basis of some experiments and generalized the theory, and they contributed a new theory to the field of psychology. They are pure psychologists. Then who is an applied psychologist? Applied psychologists are those people who are applying already existing theory. We are applying an existing theory in a new field. Teacher is an applied psychologist because a teacher uses existing theories formed by pure psychologists in a new field, that means the field of education. We are controlling our students by using some psychological tricks. Psychological trick means any trick that we use to catch students' attention or mind. It is a psychological trick. If we use such a theory, such a trick, that is application of a theory. Then this application of a theory in a new field is known as applied psychologist. Teacher is an applied psychologist, and applied psychology is application of a psychological theory or its implication in new field. Then pure psychology has only one branch, that is pure psychology itself. Then applied psychology is further divided into many. First of all, it includes behavioral psychology, then educational psychology, military psychology, parapsychology, medical psychology, then business psychology, a lot of branches. What are all these things? Educational psychology is application of psychological theories in the field of education. Then military psychology means application of psychological theories in training and practicing of military programs. Application of psychological theories in the field of medical science is known as medical psychology or parapsychology and others. Then simply understand there are two branches for psychology. First one pure, then applied. Applied psychology has further divided into many, and one important field that we have to discuss in this field is educational psychology. Educational psychology means application of psychological theories, implications, experiment and others in the field of education. What for? For smoothening the function of an education, or for smoothening functionings of education in a specific institutional setting or classroom setting. This is known as educational psychology, and further definition is needed, and it is your assignment. Write down some definition for educational psychology by famous persons, famous educationalists. What is educational psychology? By many educationalists in the world, out of which 1 or 2 persons should be from India. You have just collect, please you just collect 5 definitions, out of which 2 should be from by Indians. Then once more, so far we discussed what is psychology. Psychology is a modern science just derived after 18th century in 19th century, and it is derived from 2 Greek words, psyche and logos, which means science of soul. Then we discussed evolution of psychology. First was, it was defined as science of science of soul, then it is redefined as science of mind, then it is redefined as science of consciousness. Further it is redefined, and now the definition of psychology is the science of human behavior. Then William Wundt jokingly said that it is for psychology lost its behavior first, then it lost its soul first, then it lost its mind, then it lost its consciousness. Now it exists in a sort of behavior. Then we discussed branches of psychology, 2 branches, pure psychology, applied psychology. Then pure psychology, what is? Just write down the definition. Applied psychology, what is? Further divided into different. Then educational psychology, what is? Other applied psychologies, psychological branches, which are them. Just write down, and write down 5 definitions of educational psychology in your notebook, and WhatsApp me the image. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi.